back, everyone, to Lucky for Some, episode 7 of the Bowls Academy's podcast. What a load of bowls. No dad jokes this week, just the basic intro, Simons, but all the same beneficial content for every episode.
Yeah, glad to be back for another week, DJ. How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Bit quiet at the minute, sort of in that bit of a gap between the end of the pennant season and at regional level and then the state championships. So just sort of hanging out a bit with the kids where I can. Trying to get their soccer season off the ground. I mean, football. I hate saying soccer. I can't help it. Football, get their football season off the ground, mate. But this, what about this weather? It reminds you of back home.
Horrendous. We should just go away. Bring out some sunshine, please.
Nah, 2 weeks in a row, the poor girls have missed out on their football season kicking off. But it is what it is. What about you, mate? What have you been up to?
Well, because it was Mother's Day last weekend, I had the luckily I had my mother here, and it was Nessa's first Mother's Day. So it was a double Mother's Day celebration. So yeah, we went out for lunch. So that was good.
Was that your mum being a bit greedy there, mate? I mean, you know, the UK Mother's Day's already been had.
Yeah.
And there she comes, she flies out to Australia, gets 2 Mother's Day in the same year.
In the same year, yeah. Comes over and gets the second one, yeah. Double down.
Oh, dear.
Well done,
what
Mum.
did you just get up to?
We just went out for a bite to eat, bite of lunch, and yeah, it was nice. Well, Ellie was a good girl. She slept the whole time, so enabled us all to have lunch.
Oh, good girl,
so
Ellie. She's starting to learn, isn't she? She's starting to learn.
Well done, Ellie.
All right, mate, so moving on. Your little piece of Coach's Corner got people talking this week. Should we all be carrying more than one set of bowls based on surface, weather, position in the team, format of play? It certainly sparked some debate, didn't it, mate?
Yeah, I know. Like, who would have thought, DJ, that rubbish that you're spitting out, you know, got me using 2 sets of bowls and different surfaces. That definitely got a hot topic coming up there from a few people and a few comments. So yeah, got a correspondence from the UK about that specific topic. So yeah, a few questions on the socials, and yeah, we'll delve into that this week.
Yeah, well, off you go there, mate. You started this wormhole. You keep it going. What's the thoughts on having 2 sets of bowls in your bag to combat conditions? Who did we hear from?
Yeah, so a shout out to Matt from Basingstoke, who got in touch with us via email, and he was wondering on the pros and cons of playing with different sets throughout the season. You know, is it better to be flexible, or is it better to be consistent with one set of bowls, really? That was his main question. And he alluded to playing maybe like singles with a different set of bowls to playing maybe game of 4s, game of rinks. So yeah, he was looking to know really about the differences and what should we focus on, really. So what are your thoughts on that then, DJ?
Yeah, I'm probably more for the consistent approach, mate. It is something I used to do a while back, especially when I first got up here to the Hunter, because there's just such a vast array of surfaces here. You've got your 10-second cooch greens, depending on the time of year. You've got your 17-second synthetics. But personally, I didn't find myself getting any consistent results until I just knuckled down onto one set for all conditions. It started with using an Optima, but eventually I found my Conquest to be the ideal all-rounder. And I've been using those for about 6 or 7 years now. 100% believe that it's the player, not the bowls. But it comes down to that mental part of it as well, mate, where, you know, instead of leaving any doubt of, did I use the right set today, I just take that out, I eliminate that out of the question and just stick to one set at all times. I'll chop and change for something different in games or events that I feel are a bit less important. Just sort of keeps the mind ticking over and gets a bit more interest. But when it's down to the nitty gritty, I just pick the one set and I'll just use that for the duration of that competition, or until that period is over. Are there many guys around you that'll chop and change from singles to 4s, maybe, man? If you're playing a singles game and then having to skip a rinks game, do they chop and change much? Yeah, what have you got to say?
No, I don't think most of the guys at Tarrant Point and in around Sydney that I'm aware of, they wouldn't change for specific competitions like singles or 4s. It's more so the type of surface or how quick the surface is. That's really when they change bowls. I mean, it ranges vastly in around Sydney, where we could be playing on a 10-second green, really heavy, and absolutely like lightning. We've had, when we do get some sunshine, unlike last week, you know, greens could be really hard and running, you know, 16, 17 seconds plus, you know, so really that same set of bowls is going to be vastly different if you're just using one set of bowls from those speeds, really, and different greens. So not so much, I guess, for competitions, different competitions, in terms of singles, triples, 4s, but more so, I would say, surfaces. And I would say that I'm slightly different to you. I quite like to have choice of bowls, and it's mainly down to playing on that range of surfaces. So it gives me more options when I'm playing, rather than if it's, okay, I've got a tightish set of bowls, but if the greens are really slow, I'm going to get no turn out of those things whatsoever. I just want that slightly wider set to enable me to draw around bowls and give me more options on the green. But if it, on the other hand, if it's a really quick green, 16, 17, 18 seconds, it's been a hot summer's day, and we're out in the greens, and they are flying, I really want that narrow set of bowls. I do not want to be taking a rink and a half of grass and coming back at right angles. It can just be really tricky, especially if you add in some wind, which really affects the bowls and quick surfaces. Having that narrow set for quick surfaces is definitely an option that I like to have in my bag. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of my...
So your objective with that is to, no matter what surface you're on, you nearly want to be aiming, have a similar aim point or similar setup to what you would have.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to think about it. Yeah. So instead of using big wide swinging bowls on a green that is really quick, I'd rather bring that aiming line back in to something that I would normally play. So you're not having to really adjust your feet position, your stance, everything. You're trying to keep it similar to account for that different pace of greens.
Yeah, I suppose that it does work for some, obviously, because that's what the mindset thing is. But I more look at it from a point of view of, I've got to adjust more or less on every green. You get a wide hand and a narrow hand, you got to adjust the line anyway. So I'm just happy with, like I said, I found a bowl that's pretty good all rounder on all surfaces, and I like it, and I stick to that. So I just focus on using that. Mess around with them every now and again. I've got my professional pluses from back at home that I brought out one of the times I went to visit, and I've taken them out on the green sometimes. It opens people's eyes. They always talk about the old sets of bowls here. I haven't found an old set of bowls in the cupboard at the club that has matched these things that we used to play with in the UK. But it's good. It's certainly a topic, mate. It's becoming much more prevalent in the last sort of few years. Now that World Bowls and Commonwealth Games have changed their format or their rules to say that every competitor has to have a red set and a blue set ready to go. Yes. And then you use whatever color you use depending on what side of the scorecard you are. But at the end of the day, too, when you're at that level, these guys are more often than not, they've got their own supplier that is making that bowl specifically for them.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily just making this to get it on the shelf for hopefully some Joe Blogs to go and buy. So make it a little bit more focused when that's being made. Plus, we're talking about the top echelon of the sport. I mean, these guys should be able to use whatever they want to be able to get them close.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. But it's just they're the ones that need to be ready to adapt to a surface change, especially when they move around the world. So I can see why they would chop and change.
Yeah, there's a vast difference from Northern Hemisphere to Southern Hemisphere. And when you're playing, World Bowls events, and you could be playing 6 months later in the Northern Hemisphere, you definitely need options and being able to play in different surfaces, different sets of bowls that might be provided to you by the manufacturers. So that's definitely something that as you say, the elite of our sport have to get used to. But I guess, if it's an average bowler out there and he does want to have that sort of competitive advantage to everyone else, having that second set in your bag can sort of give you that little bit of advantage that may help you get across the line, or, get those extra few shots that you may need to get the big W on any game, whether it's singles or fours, whatever it may be. That may be a useful advantage. But you don't want to overcomplicate things, really. Like, I know guys around the club, and they come out with a different set of bowls every week. They may be different models, different manufacturers, and I think that's just taking it a step too far, really.
That's a cultural thing. I think that's a cultural thing.
I think if you're going to have multiple sets of bowls, you got to keep it to the same manufacturer and pretty similar in lines. You're just changing the lines a little bit of the set you may have. Let's not really overcomplicate it and go with 10 different sets of bowls and changing week to week, really.
No, I mean, again, I think it's a cultural thing, mate. I remember playing with guys. There was Irish internationals that were playing when we were 7, 8, 9 years of age. And then when we got to 18, 19, 20 years of age, they're still using the same bowls, just getting them re-stamped. But there's guys out here who'll change them every 6 months and stuff, or talk about sending them away to go through the lathe and things. It's definitely it's a cultural thing. But yeah, just touching on that, I suppose, mate. We've got each manufacturer's almost got different setups for each country too, doesn't it? Like there's sets in the UK that you'll not see here, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely the way now, where they're sort of making maybe 3, 4, 5 different models for each country, like models for the UK, models for Australia, maybe some specific models for New Zealand. Like, yeah, that's definitely what they're doing now. And yeah, it does overcomplicate things, and it's hard to get a true reflection between manufacturers. So if people say to me, well, what's XGs, what's the equivalent in aero? And it's really hard to compare. Like, you're trying to compare apples and oranges. And usually I think if you find one manufacturer and you like that model, then go with the same manufacturer for a slightly wider set or a slightly narrow set. Let's not overcomplicate it and get stuck into different sets from different manufacturers, because they all have their own positives and negatives with their bowls. So get a set that you like, and maybe venture, if you want a little bit of competitive advantage, venture one model wider or one model narrower.
Yeah, it's definitely it comes down to the Indian that's shooting the arrows as opposed to the arrows with the Indian.
Yeah.
It's one thing I was always told.
That's a good way to put it, DJ.
It's not the arrows, it's the Indian, was one thing I was taught early. But like I said, I've never seen so many people chopping chains as much out here. I always get a laugh out of when they talk about the old swingy sets of Classic 2s.
Yes.
We take them back to the UK. You take a Classic 2, but they're only used indoors where the greens are quicker. They're not used on the outdoor grass.
Yeah.
So we have the old Classic Deluxes or the Henselite Tigers, not the Tiger 2s or the Classic 2s.
Okay, DJ, so that kind of leads us into the next part of what Matt was asking us as well in his email, was a discussion about the difference between playing back home in Ireland to Australia and being able to adapt between, different surfaces back home and here, and weather, and how that plays a big role in terms of. One of the things I found massive difference was the effect that the wind has on the bowls over here, which doesn't really come into play that much in the UK. So yeah, he's just looking to know kind of what was it like coming over here to play, and the differences, and how do we manage and cope and change your game to that, like a brief breakdown of that. So what do you think, DJ?
Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar, bowls back at home, and in the UK in particular, we have 2 different seasons. Obviously, with the weather, we can't play outdoor all year round, so we only really play that between April and September, and that's the one that we try to compare mostly to what we're doing out here. So back at home, we've got 4 associations set up throughout that whole island of Ireland. You've got 3 up in the north where we're from in Northern Ireland, and then 1 down in the south, which is mostly based around Dublin. Those associations are mostly based around logistics, but there's a bit of difference, in particular the 2 associations we played in with the actual type of club that you're at. I mean, the club you were at Portadown was a public park type area, whereas mine was more of a council run, so mine was more of a private club. We play our own leagues within those associations. First past the post wins that. You don't play for an Irish title as a league winner, but you do play in a couple of cup events, which is you've got your own association cup event, and then you've got the Irish Cup, where you could be drawn to play anywhere on the island. It's a straight knockout, and you just keep going until you get 2 winners. Championship's pretty similar to how we run them here in New South Wales. Each association holds their own event. The 4 winners face off for an Irish title. But then the benefit of that is once you win your Irish title, you get to go play the next year for a British title against the best of England, Scotland, and Wales as well. So yeah, coming here for the first time was certainly a culture shock. I remember sitting in the car on the way down, and Big Jimmy Gaston asked the guy that was taking us down there, old Roger Duggan. He goes, "So what's the club at Albion Park like?" And he says, "Oh, we're only a little club, and we've walked into a clubhouse that's bigger than anything back at home."
Yeah,
and there's 3 grass greens out the back. Like, it's just, mate, that was just an eye opener for them to turn around and say that was only a little club. But not to mention being able to play the game all year round, the professionalism, and just the pure size of the clubs out here. And obviously, we know there's a certain element of money as to why they're able to be that big. But like I said, Albion Park, small club. We were told, we've walked in and just gone, "Jeepers, what is this?" And like, it's unheard of back at home to have multiple greens. Like, if you do have multiple greens on those rare occasions, like I think back to Bangor, Ward Park had the 3. Like, it's council run, so you're not getting really a qualified greenkeeper looking after them. It's a groundsman coming in to make sure they mow the grass. So although you've got the 3 greens there, it's not the quality's not quite there for it. So what about you, mate? Yeah, you're a couple of years after me. You had the benefit of copying me and coming out here after I'd been and learning from my mistakes.
You paved the way, DJ. You paved the way.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was fortunate to step into the Tarrant Point fold and fall into a really good club in Sydney, and yeah, it was like walking the dream world, really. I remember the very first time I stepped on the green. Charles was in charge of Tarrant Point back then, and he gave me a set of bowls, and he goes, go out and have a roll up with the guys. And first of all, I went, roll up? What's that? Like,
Yeah.
you know, we all say practice back home. So anyway, I went out.
Ours was actually a throw up. Go have a throw up. Go over here.
Throw up in Ireland's when you're in the pub, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I stepped on the green. First bowl, DJ. I'm surprised there wasn't a dent in the bank.
Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it?
A bit different. I thought, okay, I'll go a bit slower. This is quick. Second bowl, hit the sand. Third bowl, I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to drop these to get them anywhere close to the jack. Third bowl, hit the sand again. And I think the fourth one, I managed to keep it on the green just. I was nowhere near the jack. I went, how am I going to play here? And yeah, it was a massive learning curve. I reckon it took me a good 18 months, a good solid season, and a little bit more to get used to playing on the speed of greens over here, and the type of game that we play down here in Australia. Completely different to the UK game. Like, you think back, DJ, to those younger years back at Ulster Transport, everything was played with a yard on, 2 yards on. You got to sit bowl through the head because you can't really draw around things. Greens aren't good enough to draw side touchers, draw back touchers. You got to play through the head. And that was one of the massive changes in learning coming down here to Australia and playing in Sydney, that you can actually draw around balls that are only an inch or two off sitting in front of the jack. You can draw side touchers because the greens are so much better and quicker, and the amount of draw that you have in the greens. So that was a huge learning curve, that going back to more of a draw specialist game rather than playing those yard up shots, all those kind of things, in order to force balls through the head and get the shot. So yeah, that was a huge difference that I had to get used to coming over here. But it was a good learning curve, and it definitely improved my game, I would say.
Yeah, the formats are slightly different too, mate, with the pairs and the triples, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, triples back home was 3 bowls. Like, I think back now, everyone played 3 bowl triples. Just a huge amount of bowls in the green, and it took forever.
Yep.
And
it's predominantly 2 bowl out here.
Yeah, and we play 2 bowl triples over here, and I think it's such a better game. 2 bowl triples. It's so cutthroat. You have to have 3 players on their game in order to win that triples game. You can't have one player sitting on the sidelines or being carried. So yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a much better game than 3 bowl triples. So yeah, that was a good difference and something different. And not only that, DJ, what about singles?
Yeah, the singles, mate, was the one that got me. Like, I'm not a big fan of singles as it is, but the first singles tournament that we've played out here, I've gone out there and they said, right, it's 25 up, 3 games in a day. And I'm like, what? Why are we playing at 25? And then they've gone, because we need to get 3 games in a day, otherwise it would be 31. And I'm like, what? Like, we never ever went past 21 at home. Like, it becomes a marathon instead of a sprint there. And not only that, I'm used to watching World Bowls and Commonwealth Bowls, and they only played a 21 or 21. They'll dabble in sets play now and again. They have, but more often than not, it's just 21 up. Come out here, played at 25, and then if you get to the later rounds, which I didn't have to worry about, you then go to 31. And I'm just like, mate, what is that?
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, those that have been around me with the state match committee before have known that I've certainly banged on about that singles a fair bit. So
yeah, well, I'd agree with it there, DJ. Like, my thoughts too was 31. That's a huge jump for another 10 shots to win a game, especially in singles when it can be 1, 1, 1, 1. Like, I've been involved in a few tight singles games over the years, and a couple of 31-30s, and they're just marathon of games, and it becomes tiring at the end of it. And it's just who can fight their way through to the end and, you know, stay mentally strong to the end, really, rather than playing good shots. But I definitely think it should be brought back to 21. I think the UK has the one up on Australia there by playing just a 21, and let's get it the same as what World Bowls plays and everyone sees on TV.
Mate, and all the things I've said in the previous 6 episodes, I think you've just said the most controversial thing on the podcast by saying that the UK's beating Australia by playing 21 up instead of 30. You wait to see the comments we get from this one.
Bring it on.
Oh, my
31 up is way too long.
Now you're going to know how I feel. But get the pairs. They had never experienced pairs again, but we just play 4-4 pairs. So the league plays 4 balls, skit plays 4 balls, done and dusted. You come out here and you're just walking all day.
Yep.
2-2-2-2. It's just how different is it? But again, it was an alien one to us as well. I hadn't seen it before because when you look at those higher levels that we sit and watch on the TV, you just don't see that. It's just Australia being a bit different. And I'm not too sure the story behind the pairs. Maybe someone can tell us why it is like that, where it came from. But yeah, just not something that we're used to. And again, you go back to Commonwealth Games and World Bowls, they don't do 4-ball pairs now, they drop it back to 3-ball pairs.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the different formats are played, and it'd be interesting to know sometimes why they are, and we'll touch on that a little bit further down here, but also it's probably something to discuss in another episode of time about the different formats around the place. But realistically, when we get to one event, the main events, it's different again. But
yeah, hey, I've got a good one for you, DJ. Then my old club back home, poured it on.
Yep.
We used to have a club competition, and it was called Australian Pairs. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So this was before I came over. So this is what I thought in Australia. This is how they played pairs. So at the halfway mark, so say we play 18 ends or 20 ends, I think it was. At 9 ends, you switch around. The lead becomes a skip, and the skip becomes a lead. Yeah. So that was one of our club competitions, and that's how I thought that they played pairs in Australia. So when I came out here and it was 2-2-2, I was like, so they don't play the way we did.
Here's one for you. What about have you played much 2-4-2? I know it's only played in random tournaments. Now, 2-4-2? That's another game again. No, flip me. That's another one.
The variations, DJ, in our sport, it's what we were kind of alluding to in a few episodes ago, that there's no consistency across our sport, really. And it's hard sometimes we get bamboozled about, okay, we're going out to play pairs, or what format is it this week? Are we playing 2-4-2, what are we playing? And imagine somebody new coming into the sport and just being bamboozled by all these different variations of our sport. So yeah, something obviously that we could go on about, but yeah, streamlining the events might be a good topic.
Yeah, well, it's definitely in the preparation for this particular episode, and I was starting to look at a few things. It's definitely something I want to touch on going forward. So I'll put a bit more together and do that. But in terms of pennant play, or the team play that we're used to back at home, I mean, New South Wales pennants that we've played is a 12-man team event. But whereas back at home was a 16-man team event, 4 rinks.
4 rinks, yep.
So the result was still decided. I mean, there wasn't too much difference when I came out here to the point system. New South Wales one's changed over the years a couple of times, but realistically, it was the big board was the majority of your score, which I think, it's 10 years now, but I think it was 3 points, wasn't it? It was 3 points because there was a 7-point win, so you got 3 points for the big board,
3
and then a point for every rink that you won. And then it was the same when we first got here, so you had 6 points. That's then changed to now you get 7 points for the big board and then 3 rink scores. So pretty similar that way in terms of how you determine the winner.
Yeah.
And the league then, like I said earlier on, it's first past the post, and then you've got a couple of cup events, which is just big board on its own. Doesn't matter how many rinks you get up. If one rink gets up by a bundle and that wins the big board, that wins the match, and they move on and straight knockout in those cup competitions. The playoff idea was something to get used to, compared to we've never seen. We mentioned this last week. We'd never seen anything like that before. I had sort of a little bit of experience with it because I did watch a bit of rugby league when I was back at home. So Super League had a similar sort of setup to it. So. But I never really paid that much attention to it. But then all of a sudden you came out here and you've got this playoff format with 2 bites in the cherry. I mean, how did you find that coming over for the first time?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit strange, really. I was like, surely you just play your season out and the winner takes all at the end of it. But having played in a few events and things that's gone that way, I do get it, as it adds a bit of something extra at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And it keeps other teams that are maybe mid-table or halfway on the ladder, keeps them in the season later on, that they've got something to play for, that we could still sneak into second or third position and we get a shot at maybe potentially still winning this competition, even though we didn't top the ladder or top the table. So yeah, it's definitely
not only that, it stops the top echelon then taking a break, because they already know the 3 games out they've qualified for playoffs. You still got to play for that top spot, because that gives you your 2 bites of the cherry.
Yeah. So I do think it's quite a good way to end the season. Yeah, I'm not sitting on the fence kind of thing. Easy both ways. If I guess maybe over here we don't play enough games throughout the season, Like a season could be only 9 games or 10 games, whereas back home we played potentially like 18 games.
Yep.
And you're playing home and away, so therefore it's a longer season, and whoever tops the ladder or table deserves to kind of win because they've been consistent for more games throughout the season, whereas here it's more of a short season, and you win 5-6 games and you're top of the ladder, and you're not really showing consistency over a long period. So I guess
and not only that, the way the draws work, sometimes you don't get that home and away. So we might knock you off at home, but then you get a chance to play us again at your place to try and reverse that fixture. You don't get that, or reverse that result. You don't get that chance to reverse that result in some of these formats. So that's where I think the playoff comes into its own. But mate, it was some getting used to, but it adds some real spice to it. And I'm a big fan of it, actually. It's the norm now for us. I'm actually a little bit disappointed when it's just first past the post. It's a bit boring. We had that this year, unfortunately, and it lulled out a bit towards the end of the season because we knew we were winning the competition. But the glaring difference, the surfaces. How was it going? You touched on earlier. Portadown to Tarn Point. But what was your? As
you said, it was a console run bowling club. We literally had a shack of a changing room and maybe a bit of a hall and a kitchen. The grass was so thick, like you could have put sheep on there, and they would have been comfortably satisfied for food.
So where these Aussies are used to their club, they can walk in, they can go to the bar, they can go have some lunch at the restaurant, they can go and put some money into the gaming machines. If you wanted to do all of that in the one day, you had to go to 3 different venues, didn't you?
Yes. So there was no alcohol, no bar,
no TAB.
No nothing, no TAB. It literally just was a hut to get changed in and keep the bowls gear, and it's completely volunteer run. The council literally have a grass cutter, and they cut the grass, and that's it. They don't do any maintenance, no care. They don't even water the green in the summertime. It's literally, you don't know what you're going to rock up to and play week on week. And I think back now, how did we play bowls to such a high standard on those greens? It really is mind-blowing that we actually played on those greens, and we thought sometimes, these are pretty good this week. And over here, it's like playing on a snooker table over here. Yeah. So, the club, it's completely run by volunteers. So I remember I used to go down early. You used to have to set out the boundary pegs, set out the centre pegs, all yourself. There's no greenkeeper to do it for you. Set all the mats out, scoreboards. Even remember back in the day, DJ, you had to put string lines out.
I was about to say that to you.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if the jack or the ball was on the boundary peg, you used to go over and lift the string up. If it was touching, it was in. If it missed it, it was out.
Yeah.
And no white line down the middle of the green.
Nah. So back home, we got no lines and to show you where the center of the green is. So whenever the lead throws the jack, they got to spend 10 seconds lining up the jack every time and telling the skip, no, a little bit this way, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. Like it just completely different setup to what it is here. And it's, I've got some I've got some photos, DJ. We might release them. We might put some photos I have of Portadown Green as it is now. It's definitely gone downhill the last few years, even to when I left 12 years ago. So that'll be good. We might do a comparison, Portadown to Tarn Point. We might do a little post and let people see. We might even see if you could get an old Ulster Transport photo of the greens or
floating around.
The surrounds
green of Ulster Transport.
We'll compare that to Maitland City, and we might put a little comparison up there for people to see. But the difference is chalk and cheese, really.
Yeah, but we could even have that. We could even have that to an extent between our associations, as you sort of said too. Like the club that we were at was more of a private club, so we did actually have a bar there. Yeah, but there was no place for all these Aussie gamblers who go and gamble and stuff. There was a dark room at the back that had 3 of them. Remember the flash? What do we call them? We didn't call them pokies. We called them something else back in the day. I don't know what they're called now.
Like fruit machines.
Them ones, the fruit machines. Yeah. There's 3 of them in this dark, dingy room, and that was it really. But run by volunteers. There was maybe one bar manager at our place. We did have a greenkeeper, Rodney, which we were pretty lucky. He was one of the best ones going around. But for Rodney to make that living from that trade, Rodney had to look after 4 clubs.
Yeah, right.
So he'd come and get us ready in the morning, then drive straight to another one, then go to another one and go to another one. So he could be up at dear knows what time
Yeah.
to get all these games ready and stuff, But yeah, I'd much rather play on the greens in the PGL than have to go to play at Portadown.
Oh, definitely.
I think I did it in one Irish Cup game, and yeah, I was glad we never had to go back, to be honest.
I'll say, DJ, it was a really good home advantage playing at home. That was one thing where over here is not really, because the greens are all pretty good. So there's not much of an advantage, but definitely I'll give you a good insight. I still, to this day, I know rank 1, I put it on, forehand, going a certain direction, you got to play it about 2 feet tight, because when it gets 2 yards out from the center line of the jack, it'll run straight.
Oh, dear. Yeah, you still get that over here now, but yeah, not to that extent really. Especially with the wider sets of bowls that we said we had, you'd think the bias would counteract that, but it just shows you how unlevel that thing was.
20 years later, I still remember how those greens run, and that just shows you how individual each rink was, and you knew where all the holes and runs were on your green, and that was a huge advantage playing at home.
Yeah, it was. Whereas, I was sort of blessed growing up and playing at Ulster Transport, which to me, back then, it probably could still be, was the best green in the whole country at the time, So we lose home field advantage at times because the greens are that good. But pretty blessed to grow up on that compared to what you had. But it still doesn't measure up to the quality that we have out here. And I wish at times, like, whenever you get the whingers, the green did this today and the green did that, you wish you could just throw them in the car, drive them around the corner and say, roll on that.
Yeah, have a go on that.
And give them,
see how you go.
Say you've got a half an hour. They wouldn't last the half an hour.
Nah.
And then they come back here and they go, yeah, I'm never going to complain about a green again, But it is a part of the game too. Like, you've got a 36 by 36 square meter area. You're not going to get it perfectly flat, No. So it's one of the challenges of our sport, I find. So it all just comes down to how blessed they are here, mate, weather-wise, climate, everything I got there. The type of grasses are different too. Like, we use a bent grass back at home, which you can't use here. It burns.
Yeah.
And then they use a tiffy here on our cooch here that we can't use at home because it won't grow.
It won't grow.
these things actually want it to be 35 degrees.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, mate, just the professionalism, like having CEOs of clubs and paid bowls coordinators just in every club. Like, we didn't even, growing up, like the Irish team manager and the head of selectors and stuff wasn't even paid.
No.
I know
Boothie's got as well. Yeah.
I know Boothie's got a pretty good gig now because it's built up to that, but like he'd be the only probably paid bowler in Ireland, or paid professional in the whole country. Whereas I can name 3 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
At all different clubs here. It's just, they're absolutely blessed out here. And it really is, mate. Purely on just playing the game, it's the best place to be. A few things that I've alluded to in the past that could be dusted up on, maybe off the green. But being out here, mate, it's absolutely blessed just to be out here and to play on these every week, I find.
Yeah, DJ, I mean, it is fantastic to play on the greens out here, and we are blessed. So, yeah, I really thank myself 12 years ago to make that decision and move over here and play some bowls. So, yeah.
The whole of Portadown was happy too, mate. Okay, mate, so I think that'll do for that. If anyone's got any more questions they want us to elaborate on anything, just get in touch with us. We're more than happy to talk about that type of stuff. It's quite good to reminisce about a few things there. And we could talk 3 or 4 episodes on that, really, couldn't we?
We could.
There's a fair few differences. Okay, man, around the greens. So on to Bowls New South Wales Champion singles are being played this week.
Yes, mate. Back down in Sydney for the men's and the women's champion singles. Semis and the final will be played after this episode is released. So, yeah, we'll be down to final 4 in those events. Where are we up to now, DJ, as we are recording this? Who's still going?
Right, I'll start with the women's. So the women's have got down to the quarterfinals. So this is Tuesday night we're recording. They're going to play tomorrow morning. Live stream game between Mei Wan Lim and Dawn Heyman. For those that don't know, Dawn Heyman plays out of St. John's Park. I'm pretty new to the game.
She's got a few titles this year. She's definitely going to be rocky. Hoping there's another one added to that collection this year.
Absolutely. It's got to be one of those names in there. But then you've got Kate Walker from Tarrant Point against Christine McGarity of Marimula, Cherise Stewart from West Hamworth against Kay Moran of Figtree, and Vicky Turner of Warilla against Natasha Van Eldik of Raymond Terrace. Into the men's then. The men's are just one game back. They're into the last 16. I'm not going to go through everyone there. A couple of names that are still going, though. You've got Harley McDonald of Tarrant Point. Previous winner, Peter Taylor, still going. We got Mason Lewis of Engadine. Always a very good singles player. Pretty good game here. Jeremy Henry up against Daniel Hill from Club Charlestown.
Yep.
Hilly's looking forward to that one, mate. I'm quite close with Daniel, and he's actually tried to mimic Jeremy's delivery as the best that he can.
No way.
He sees himself as little Jeremy. He actually says that around the Newcastle area. I'm little Jeremy. Mate, if you could win half his titles, you'd be doing well. But
that'll take that.
That'll be an interesting one to watch. I don't think the textbooks will be out there for the deliveries, but by all means, I might not want Jeremy's delivery, but I'll take his results every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fergo's still going there too. And then probably game of the round, Carl Healy against Jack McShane.
Ooh,
so that's who's left in the men's, mate. So between all that, men's and the women's, you're Mr. Predictor. What do you reckon? Who are you going for?
I think I did predict better than you the last time. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see. We've still got the platinum to come, mate.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna back my lad Harley. Tarrant Point. He's playing well. I'll back him.
You're getting a bit confident here backing that. That's an outsider, surely.
No. Harley McDonald? No way.
We'll find out if he's listening.
No, I'm going to back him in. Yeah, but there's some big games coming up for him. If he, keeps going through, he'll meet some of those guys that win some of those games. I'd say Jeremy will probably get there, regardless of who wins out of Carl and Jack McShane. That's going to be a tough, whoever comes against the winner of that game. So there's definitely some tough games, and I'm sure there'll be some nail-biting finishes to games as well. That'll be only a couple of shots in it, I'm sure, because the quality of the players there is really good for Bulls New South Wales champion singles. So, hopefully Harley can do it. So.
Yep, you've weighed Harley down with a favourites tag in the men's, mate. So what are you going to do with the women's? Are you going to do the same to Kate there, or are you going to go somewhere else?
Oh, look, I think Kate will put up a good fight, and she'll potentially make it through another round or two. But I'm going to have to go with Dawn. Like, she's won so many titles this year already. Like, it's going to be hard. I think she's $1.10 if you're a punting guy.
Is she that far out? Is she?
I would say so. So I'm going to go with Dawn,
mate.
Yeah.
Dawn, I mean, it's hard to look past that. I'm going to go Kay Moran. Just something different.
Ooh, yep.
Just Kay. So she's got plenty of experience there at that level. She lost a couple of state finals to Dawn too, so maybe it's time to get one over on her. We'll see how we go.
Maybe you're predicting that's the final then, are you?
Could be, mate. Yeah, I'll go that. I'll go Dawn Heyman against Kay Moran in the final. And man, I'm going to go. I don't know if the dark horse is the right name, but man, Mason Lewis's name keeps sticking out to me there. He's a pretty handy singles player. So I could see Mason doing some damage, but mate, Jeremy's on fire in the last 12 months. Like it's almost like he's just flicked a switch again, decided I'm going to put my head down, and he's winning everything in Warrilla. He's winning stuff down in zone 16.
He's turned back the clock to 1996, is
he? You said that, not me. He's not that old.
How many Commonwealth games has he been to?
That's a point of conjecture, actually, because he hasn't been to too many. But he won the World Singles in 2000. He was still under 25 then, mate. So
no way.
Yes, he's not that much older than you. He's a bit older than me. He's not that much older than you.
There you go. So learn something new every day. Sorry, Jez.
There you go. Yeah, I'm glad you apologised. I bet you don't cut that out of the podcast. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's who I'll go for. I'll back Jeremy in there. He's been on fire. It's probably, I just get this feeling he's looking at it as this is a title I haven't won. I wouldn't mind checking it off. So we'll go Jeremy there. He's going to be hard to beat. He again, talking to Hilly there, he was watching very closely to a game next door to him because he knew he would have to play him if he won, and he's drawing inside the jack. So,
okay.
so we'll just see how he goes there.
That's a good one, DJ. Yep.
Yeah, mate. I've also we have focused quite a lot on New South Wales and stuff.
Yep.
So I've had a quick look around at what else is going on around the state. So Victoria's already finished their state championships.
Yep.
I'm just interested to see. I want to touch on this in a bit more detail on another episode, but they run their state championships over 9 days, whereas we ran ours over 15, 16, 17 even. Good, by the time they put everything into it, you know. So 9 days, but they also combine the 4 main events with the champion of champions.
How did they manage to do that in 9 days?
Well, the different formats. They play it slightly different to what we do. They play the same way that New South Wales used to. So they've got regional qualifiers and they've got 16 of those, which is what we do. But then they decided about 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, to when you get the state, you get to play in a round robin. Whereas these guys just go straight knockout. So
straight knockout, yeah.
You go there
for one game.
You travel all the way to where it is. You get knocked out, you're done.
Yeah, I
All
can.
right. So, did you see any of the winners or anything on that there, mate?
I did know that J-Boy Norris, because he was playing for us in Tarrant Point in the Platinum Pennants, he was one of our marquee players. So, yeah, he made both finals, didn't he? And managed to
both
win
singles.
one and sadly get beat in another by a single shot. So, that was a fair effort and 2 singles events. And I'm sure he played a lot of bowls over that few days.
His name popped up a heck of a lot down in Victoria there in the last 12 months, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Now,
so
now we'll see how he goes in the Hunter, mate.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He goes in the Hunter Valley.
Curry, that's right. He's up your way now.
I wasn't going to mention the club because I think I burst into flames if I said them.
Okay, well, I'll do that for you.
Now,
so.
Jay has come up. He's the new coordinator over there at Curry, and he's straight into the Zone 16 rep team, mate. So he is down for Interzone.
There you go. Well, but he's been doing good things down in Victoria, so why not? Why not?
Oh, okay. So there we have, mate. 2 states. Both with 16 qualifiers, played in different styles with sectional play, then knockout in New South Wales, but then straight knockout. But both winners then have to go to the Australian finals, where they play a round robin with every other state, and the winner that finishes top of the table wins the championship. So it looks like we're breaking into another topic for another podcast about how you play effectively a national title starting in your region, and you play different formats the whole way up to actually winning that title or playing in that title. So just briefly look at that, mate. What do you think of that?
That kind of comes back to the start of our podcast when we're talking about playing in different events and maybe different bowls for different formats, or that was the question that Matt kind of threw out to us. And it's interesting that you can play 3 different ways in an event, whether it be knockout, round robin, mixture of both, the whole way through to win a national title, and there's no consistency the whole way through. So maybe that's something that needs to be looked at. Maybe the states all need to get together at a round table and see if something like that can happen.
We'll see if we can poke a few bears around the place in the other states and we'll get them talking about it, but I'm definitely all for that, and I think there's something we could talk about further down the track. So looking a bit north of us, mate, at the Cane Toads as well, they've just started their state championships. Theirs is a centrally run event. So you enter with Bowls Queensland, and then you travel for like a 2-week carnival. So you play all your events over a 2-week period at whatever the host club is or host clubs, similar to the Australian Open. And the thing there is, but you can enter that state title with people from different clubs. So you don't have to play with Ray Pearce or Dave Axon at Tarrant Point. You can play with DJ Dover from Club Maple City. We just go down, we go for 2 weeks, we play in the pairs together, we play fours, we play triples, we play singles. So no qualifiers, just anyone that wants to play in it just looks at where the host club's going to be. So it's Club Musgrave this year. If they want to send us, we'll send them an invoice for mentioning that on the podcast.
Well, if I'm stuck with you playing pairs, I think I'll be skipping. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll put the best player at lead. That's a good idea, mate. Get the balls in early. Don't lead with the chin, Simon. You know better than that. It's interesting that. I mean, where we are, we have to enter in our region with the same people from our club.
Yeah.
But up there, they can play with, Aaron Sheriff at Broadbeach can go and grab, where's Barry now? No, Barry's at Broadbeach anyway. That's a bad example. But he can grab Wayne Turley at Tweedhead, and them two can go play the pairs together.
Yeah, I think
it's an interesting one. I'm not saying that I'm with or against it.
Yeah.
There's obviously pros and cons on everything, but it's just an interesting one because that pair, if they win it, goes on to play at the Australian National Championships with the winners from New South Wales who have played in a different format.
Yeah, so the conditions of play are different depending it's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
DJ?
Yep.
That's just says a lot about our sport, really.
It's a bit messy.
Yeah.
So it is, but yeah. And not to mention, like up in Queensland, they've got in their sectional play and stuff, because they're trying to cram it all in, they've got time limits. They shorten the games. So I think they're playing 25 up in the singles up until the quarterfinals, and then they go to 31 up, maybe even the semifinals.
Yeah.
The pairs, I think they're going maybe 18 ends. Here's another one too, just while we're on it. Victoria and Queensland are playing 4-bowl mixed pairs. So 2-2-2-2. And that's what they'll play when the winners go to the Australian Championships. Or the Nationals, sorry, as they're called, the Nationals.
The Nationals, yep.
In New South Wales, our winners will go to the Nationals having won the title playing 3-bowl pairs. Now, there's a big 3-bowl pairs and 4-bowl pairs out here.
Yeah.
Not so much the way we talked about earlier, we played at home, okay? Because the league just drops a ball, Skip just drops a ball, all right? But there is a big difference in how the game is played with 2-2-2-2 compared to 3-bowl.
Yeah.
So is it an advantage or a disadvantage?
Yeah,
It's are we leaving our winners in the mixed pairs at a disadvantage to go on to the nationals to play 4-ball pairs when they play 3-ball pairs?
Yeah, maybe that's something that Bulls New South Wales can have a look at, DJ.
Yeah.
I think that they do listen to us, so I don't know, maybe.
You're here in the comments too, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we'll start a few more arguments around the state, see who's winning see who's listening from around the place, and go from there.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. We'll definitely be getting Mr. Wayne Turley on for an interview, so we could definitely throw those few topics at him and see his thoughts as well, because he's played in both New South Wales and Queensland. So
I'm interested to know how he feels pulling on that maroon.
Well,
played in the blue of New South Wales, and now pulling on the maroon.
We'll field that question to him as well. There you go, listeners. Yeah. We'll throw the hard questions at him, and we'll see what he comes up with. So, luckily, we're good mates.
Right, mate. Mailbag on the back burner a bit for this week, because we sort of touched on that in the earlier topic and went through it a bit. So, what have you got for us instead this week? And then we'll probably let you just run wild with your coach's corner again. But what have you got for this next segment? What are we going to do?
Okay, DJ, so instead of a mailbag, we're going to have a giveaway. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give away a bowls cloth, TBA bowls cloth. So, those wet, windy conditions, whenever you need to keep your bowls dry, perfect thing.
Well, I can't really judge that because I haven't even got one of those yet. So whoever wins this will get one before I do.
There you go. You're in hot demand, DJ. Can't even send you one up to Maitland City. So,
right. How do they win this, mate?
Jump on our socials, so Instagram, Facebook, and you just got to share. We're going to have a post on there, giveaway post. Share the post, like the page, and that's basically it, right? Let's get the word spreading about the Bulls Academy, about our podcast as well. And you'll go into the hat, and we'll probably announce that winner next week on the podcast. Yep.
Right, mate, Coach's Corner. What do you want to look at for this week?
Okay, Coach's Corner. I was saying we were talking a lot there about champion singles. That's what they're down to in Bulls New South Wales, the final pointy end or the gritty end of that competition. We're going to have a few tips on playing singles. Do you play singles much, DJ?
Man, I'm going to let you give tips for that. I tend to just put myself in good teams, so I'll just let you.
Just surround yourself with good players. Is that why you always invited me up to your pairs tournament to play your Easter?
And then you started knocking me back. And then not only that, how did we go in the pairs at Tarrant Point that we always play every year that I missed out on last year?
There was no invite.
Yeah, I know there wasn't. Mr. Harley McDonald. Harley.
Lost in the mail.
Yeah, righto. Good on you, mate. It's not like it's around my birthday and it hurt or anything. Anyway, so singles. Go ahead.
Singles. Okay, so three key pieces of advice for listeners out there to be a successful or maybe a more successful singles player. I think the first one, you really got to be happy to concede one shot in singles. I think losing 2, 3, 4 shots, especially 3s and 4s, is a real killer in singles. It's hard to claw back those shots. I think teeing up a good head and getting second shot can sometimes be just as good as getting the shot in singles. If you're 3 or 4 down, getting second shot can be a real win and a real bonus. So have that key piece of information in your back of your head whenever you're playing singles and your chips are down and you're 2, 3, 4 shots down. Sometimes playing the wonder ball to get the shot may not sort of pan out too good. Getting second shot can be just as successful. What do you think about that piece of advice, DJ?
That's one piece of advice I was always taught, mate. If you can't get shot, get second shot. I remember an old fellow at Ulster Transport telling me a story of he used to tell that to all the young kids, second shot's always good.
Yeah.
So he was training this fellow to go away and play in a PGL singles tie, and he came back pretty quickly after, and he goes, well, how'd you go? He goes, I got beat. He goes, how'd you get beat? He goes, I got beat 21-0. He goes, how'd that happen? He goes, well, I got second shot every end.
Maybe not every end, maybe only whenever the chips are done, you not get second.
You try to get the shot, but if you can't get the shot, you make sure you've got a second shot.
That's it.
So yeah.
Next piece of advice, number 2, I think you got to keep in the back of your mind, is that you got to be a draw specialist. Going out and playing up shots all the time, you got to get balls in the head. And that's the key to singles. The only really good singles player will be a draw specialist. And all those people that are starting out playing in the lead position, second position, they think, oh, I want to play skip, Those are the good hard yards that you do as lead and second, and all those draw shots that you play the majority of time in fours. That can be a real leg up whenever you come to play singles. A lot of people that are maybe new to the sport, rookies or whatever, they think, oh, I got to be a skip in order to play singles because I got to play all the shots. That's not necessarily the case. I definitely believe that some of the best singles players out there are really draw specialist bowlers. What do you think of that one, DJ?
Yeah, 100%, mate. You see a lot of leads doing pretty well. So you do from it. One person in particular from back at home I played a lot with was Paul Daly. Like, Paul never ever played anywhere but lead. Yeah. So he didn't. Won Commonwealth medals and everything from playing at lead, but he was a phenomenal singles player. Yeah. So he was. Won singles titles. I think he won the Irish singles. So he did. But yeah, and just from draw, you know, because it's definitely, it's a mindset thing. Very specialist position lead, and it's not given enough credit, especially in the early days of people's training and stuff. I mean, especially like from our level here, when we're picking our grade one side, we want to go with obviously 3 best players are our skippers, but after that, it's who's the specialist leads, who's going to get your balls in the head earlier, and not enough credit's given to it, mate. So yeah, by all means, becoming a draw specialist.
Who can throw the right jack length? You know, that's another key thing. It's singles as well. Controlling that the length of the jack can be critical in your strategy and tactics. So that is definitely a key aspect to your game as well. Being able to control that jack length and not throw it 5, 6, 7 meters too long than what you really want it to be. The third and final piece of advice, DJ, to keep in the back of your mind when playing singles is that your first ball really sets the tone of the end. So a bit of practice advice. When you got 2 balls, go and roll up or practice, whatever way you say it, with 2 balls only, and you try and prepare that first one. That's the one you got to really concentrate on, is the first ball, and a little bit in the second. So I would encourage people to practice with 2 balls rather than taking your whole 4 balls out and throw 4 balls up as an end of practice. Just go with 2. Get used to starting an end off again, going up and back just with 2 balls. So setting that tone with the first ball can really give you confidence and provide the upper hand and increase the pressure on your opponent by getting a really good first one. Put them under the pump straight away, DJ. What do you think on the back foot? If somebody puts one really close, just a bowl short, right on the line, bowl long, right behind the jack, it really sets the end up, doesn't it?
It does, mate. Yeah. A lot of effort needs to be put into those first couple of bowls. You know, first bowl in particular, but also the first 2. If you can hold the shot 90% of the time after the first 2 bowls, you're going to go a long way to winning a game. So yeah, by all means, definitely a focus there. A good piece of advice. Only rolling up with the 2 bowls. Which set do you use, Bob? Do you use 2 from the same set, or use 1 from each?
2 from the same set. Right? 2
okay, good. Just to be clear, man. That's all. Just to be clear.
Yep. So there you go, DJ. Whenever you're out having a practice or a roll up or at Maitland City, you just keep those 3 key pieces of advice, and you might make it as a singles player one day.
Major singles at Maitland City 10 years ago now. I don't think there's another one coming anytime soon, to be honest. But yeah, it is my least favorite discipline. Like, I've always just played team sports. I'd rather be out there with someone, bouncing off someone. It's a very lonely place playing singles, so it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's one I definitely struggle with.
Yeah.
So yeah, some good pieces of advice there, Simon. Hopefully a few people can take that away with them and become expert singles players.
Yeah, well, if somebody managed to jag a good singles title, let us know. We'll, if you have anyone else has any
champions,
maybe champion singles, yeah. Harley, come on, let's get across the line, right? And we'll get you on the podcast. Tell us how you did it.
Before we go, mate, I just want to give a shout out to Andy Duncan back at home. Andy's fallen a bit of hard times. He's lost his job recently, mate.
Yeah.
So he has.
It's no good.
Yeah. Wife and 2 kids, lost his job. He was working on the Waltzer, on those little carnivals that travel around Lob and Council car parks and stuff, just all the different rides and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in charge of the Waltzer, and he got sacked the other day. But I think he's spoke to he's got some legal advice that he reckons he can have them for a fair dismissal. So he can. So good luck, Andy, with that. Sorry, I said I wouldn't do any dad jokes, folks, but we try to keep that one in just to lighten the mood as we finish. But thanks everyone for listening again. We've had another good episode there. I've done a bit more of a coach's corner as requested by the listeners. So some good advice there from Simon. We can see who's going to do that and who's going to use that advice in the champion singles. We'll touch base next week on who's won those events. and how the finals went. We might look a bit more at the Queensland state titles next week, mate. There'll be a weekend.
Yep.
We'll see how we go with that. We'll go into another state for a bit and just see what's happening up there. But yeah, folks, hope you're all enjoying it. Please, by all means, get in touch. We had a bit more feedback this week on how the podcasts are going. A few more emails, a few more messages. If you don't want to comment anything publicly, by all means, you've got Simon's email address, you got my email address, you've got the contact page of the website, and private message over Facebook. We'd like to hear from you. It was good to talk a bit more about what we've been through from being back at home to out here, mate. Like I said, a bit of nostalgia in there, so it's good to touch base on that again. So, yeah, folks, that's all from us now. Just remember, as always, keep that little disc on the inside, and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, good luck on the greens, everyone, and catch you again next week. See ya.